There's so many fighting games out there. You've got Street Fighter, Smash Bros, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Guilty Gear, Injustice, and many more. But my personal favourite fighting game is Rivals of Aether, and I'm clearly not alone. It's small in comparison to some of the giants that I just mentioned, but it still has a bustling pro scene, even under the restrictions that we've seen ourselves in over the last year or so. Now, I know why I like Rivals so much, but nobody really cares about that, do they? I want to know why these guys like Rivals. The pro players, the top 1%. What I want to know is why these pros chose Rivals of Aether. Cue the music.
It's generally been his recovery that kinda is what gets him. Okay, yeah, okay. Oh! Looks like Sinla has been going for the tether behind. So yes!
Yeah! He's just waiting. He goes. Yep, there you go. There you go! There you go!
Oh,
I can find the exact bracket. Ooh, he goes for the needle fair.
So first and foremost, how long have they been playing Rivals, and when did they first hear about the game?
I'm MSB, top 11 Rivals player. Been playing since 2015. Game came out. So I was big on Smash 4 when that came out. So I was on like the Smash Bros subreddit, and they let Dan post his trailers there. So I knew about Rivals already from just watching those, being like, wow, this game looks like shit. And it came out, and I saw Mango streaming it, and I thought that was cool. It's like, all right, this game looks playable. I'm gonna buy it.
I'm CakeAssault, top level Rivals player for a few years. Well, I was initially a Smash player. By that I mean I was 7 years old and really liked Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And my brother and I were very competitive. He was 4 years older. So we were both like young, just like playing Smash together. And then I think at some point, like one of his friends in high school, like they watched like the Wombo combo video, and then I became obsessed with Melee. I couldn't play Melee because no one wanted to play it with me, but I loved Melee. And I think when I was like 12 or 11, I found Super Smash Land, which if you don't know, is Dan's first like platform fighter that he made. And I see like on their website, it's like making a new game called Rivals of Aether. And I was like, oh my god, no way, that's so sick. And I followed the development until it came out. And then it came out, and I like came home from school, and I was like, Mom, can you please buy this game for me? So I was like 13 or 14, and I like didn't have money or whatever. I was like, Mom, please.
Hey everyone, it's me, Dose Rogers. I'm a Ronald main. I was previously ranked number 24 in my first year playing. I'm a mod for r/Smash Brothers, and one day Dan came to us saying like, could he advertise this game? And we're like, yeah, sure. It's a platform fighter. It's cool. And he was like, thanks for letting me advertise my game on the subreddit. You mind if you want to get in the beta? And I was like, I took the opportunity and I played, and that's kind of how I got into it. Was just one day Dan came to the subreddit like, hey, I want to advertise Rivals. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like a 2D Smash. This is what we kind of need right now.
My name is Sparx21. I've been playing Rivals since 2015. I'm one of the best Eliana players in the world. When I first heard about Rivals, it was just me watching videos on YouTube, and I come across like really old Alpharad videos on like early access Rivals and whatnot, where he played a couple of different characters. And I saw that, I was like, oh, this game looks neat. It's like Smash. But then there was another video. It was Mango versus J-Tails playing in Rivals. And I was just like, huh, okay, cool. You can actually do some fun stuff in this. I feel like I can give this a shot.
Unsurprisingly, all of the best players in the world have been playing the game for a really long time, but not all of the top players are old school players.
We're seeing new players rise up like the ranks. Like it's not just old heads sitting on top 50 spots. It's new players coming, challenging the old heads and claiming new spots. So it's like the game is constantly updating itself.
And the best players in Rivals when it first launched were Forrest, aka Mr. LZ, who was a top Practicum player, and Ralph, who was a top 100 Melee player. Took Rivals players at least a year to catch up.
Rivals of Aether has 14 playable characters, with 4 more coming on the horizon. but basically every single top player, including these 4, picks a single character to main. Sure, they'll sometimes have like a side character as a secondary, but they'll all have their main. CakeAssault mains Forsburn, Dose mains Rano, MSB mains Crag, and Sparx mains Eliana. The cast in Rivals are all crazy different from one another, and are very unique as far as platform fighter character design goes. So out of all of their options, why did they pick the mains that they picked?
I watched some Twitch streams, some of the old school streamers. Forsburn, first of all, was a very unpopular character. Not many people chose him, but like, the few people that I saw using him were Twitch streamers that I was watching that played Rivals. And they played Forsburn, and I thought that it was sick. I would watch them play Forsburn, and I would be like, those combos are so sick. However, whatever they're doing is so sick, I want to learn how to do that.
Alright, this game looks playable, I'm gonna buy it. So I just picked Crag, and I used the pillar in training mode, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play this character. Yeah. Like, I don't have to learn this weird wall jump mechanic to recover, as I can just use the pillar and double jump back to stage.
So I went through a kind of interesting transition period, because during all of early access, I played Raster, like that's all I played, and then I kind of dropped off from the game. And I think about a year after the early access came back, I switched completely to Zedder, because I was like, oh, Zedder's like Fox. I kind of play Fox in Melee. Let me play Zedder. I was completely lied to, because everyone who says that is like the biggest lie ever. And it was around that period I started getting really into PM, and at that time I was full like PM Sheik. So it was kind of an interesting contrast to go playing like Zedder and then like playing PM Sheik. I was playing, I was like, man, if only there was a character who played like PM Sheik, I would love this game so much more. And then on that fateful SmashCon 2017, Dan had a build of Rano, and I tried him out. I was like, oh, this character has a lot of like Sheik-like qualities. I think I can main this person. So I got really hyped because that demo really solidified that I want to play this character.
How did you choose your main? Because your main is literally the newest character in the game as of right now.
I mean, it's easy for me to like realize what I like about Eliana now that I've like figured it all out. It's like, okay, yeah, I can use these projectiles to open you up from a distance, and then I can convert that into a crazy combo with a bunch of aerials and whatnot. I can say that now, because I know that now. But when I first picked up Eliana, it was just like, I tried them out, it's like, huh, man, this character feels awful, but I kind of like it. And it's just like, I'm gonna keep this in the pocket for a while. I'm gonna play them for fun. I doubt I'll ever actually switch to them, but I'll keep them around because I started off with Crag.
For the most part, it was a particular play style that led to these players picking their mains. The Rivals cast is a lot smaller than the cast in other fighting games, which means that each character archetype is only really represented by one or maybe two characters in the cast, whereas other fighting games will have many, many more than that filling these archetypes. But the character design itself was also a key part of their decisions. The gimmicks these characters possess really makes them unique from one another in a way that other games don't really have. Like, the closest thing is, like, they released Steve, and he's got a bunch of bloody... He plays Minecraft on the other side of the stage while you try and kill him.
And a lot of those characters people hate fighting against. I mean, one, because they are so different, you actually do have to learn the whole entire matchup. But two, that they're just really annoying to play against, like, their gimmicks. In Rivals, you're always like, okay, let's do this every time the new matchup comes on the screen. In Smash, you're like, oh, God, I have to do everything differently now. My brain isn't ready. It's kind of like whiplash seeing a character that you weren't expecting.
If you really boil it down to the basic, every character, like, quote-unquote, controls the same, like, a jump to jump, a fair is a fair. You know, that's how they do. But the air characters, they kind of break that mode, because, like, Absa has a unique double jump that no one else has. Raster can only do as strong as in the air, and the Eliana has, like, everything, so...
Air characters tend to fly, like...
Yeah, so the air characters kind of break the control scheme mode that Rivals has. So if you play one character, you can probably control another character. You may not be able to play him, like, you know, well, but you understand the gist of what you need to play him.
It's no secret that Rivals of Aether takes inspiration from the Smash Bros series, especially Melee. I mean, Smash Bros literally invented the platform fighter genre, so any platform fighter has to be at least somewhat inspired by Smash. But with those crossovers in mind, I was very curious as to what drew them into Rivals in particular over the other possible options that they had to choose from. Not just necessarily the Smash games, but other fighting games as a whole. I mean, why did they choose Rivals?
Starting out, my mind wasn't on tournaments. I was just a kid in high school. I didn't think of anything like that. I just wanted to play a game because I thought it was fun. To me, that's what Rivals was. It was fun. It was a game that I understood okay. It felt fun to improve at it as well. The thing that I love the most about Rivals character designs is how they bring the entire moveset together. It feels like you really have to use each move, like, synergizing with one another. With the way that their whole, like, quote-unquote gimmicks work, with, like, you can use Eliana's heat gauge to, like, manage it with all of your specials and your steam and your strong attacks and all these crazy things. Everyone's kit is just so tied together in a way where it feels like you're really encouraged to use all of it.
It was at a point where I was playing Melee, and a lot of my friends started having hand problems. I got worried because I was like, man, I don't want to have hand problems.
Oh
so
god,
like, man.
they're getting like carpal
Yeah.
tunnel. God,
So I was like,
yeah,
all right, I need to find a game I can use my Xbox controller, and luckily Rivals provides that.
All your mates were getting carpal tunnel from L cancelling, so you were like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Luckily, I was such a Luigi main, so my inputs weren't as intense. But I was like, I don't want to take that risk.
Well, after I learned what all my characters' moves did, I just like played against the CPU, just like try it out in the game. And I realized that the game didn't have ledges, so I could just forward air the Zetterburn over and over, and he could not make it back. And I was like, yeah, I like the game without ledges. I'm gonna play it more. So I just got an exhibition, got my ass kicked by like random Zetterburns that taunt after every kill. So now Spite was my motivator to be better than those guys at least. And it just kind of spiraled from there. I saw tournaments, started entering those, and just got better and better. And with Smash, that progression didn't really happen to me, so I was way better at Rivals than at Smash, and just ended up dropping that game. Yeah, I mean, Smash Ultimate has 70-something characters, so with a game like that, it doesn't matter what the characters are. They're gonna feel samey.
Yeah.
Like, in order for the characters to be in the same game as each other, they're gonna all have to kind of feel similar and kind of blend into each other. There are literally Echo Fighters in the game, too.
Yeah, there's literally duplicates of other characters that you can play.
So the characters in Rivals would all feel very unique compared to that.
I think if I grew up in New York City where Nebs was nearby and I could like walk to Nebs and like play with Hack's money every week, I would be talking about Rivals like I talk about Smash 4. And I'd be like, oh, there's people that play a slower paced game. Why don't they just play Melee?
There's less
Why
tap
even
skill.
touch that other game?
Yeah, you don't even have to L cancel. What's the point?
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
that's-
Like, it's like a circumstantial thing.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's definitely just the fact that I went to Rivals first instead of Melee. Rivals was there, so I did it. If Melee was there, I would have done that instead, and I just wouldn't have been a Rivals player.
But once they've decided that Rivals is a game they want to take seriously, what actually keeps them coming back day in and day out?
The first answer I give is a cheesy answer. It's the community. I have met and befriended so many people in this community. It's so great that I got to know a lot of people. I think in general, just my competitive drive. Like, if there's any game I play, I want to be able to at least say I was good at it. I don't want to ever leave a game and say I wasn't good at it. Like, I started playing Rocket League. I started playing so many hours in that game until I hit champion. I was like, all right, I can officially say I'm good at this game.
And now I can quit.
Yeah, and then I can quit. That's the thing. I haven't done that with Rivals yet because I feel as though, because my original goal was I want to hit top 50, and then once I do, that was it. But I hit it in under a year, and I was like, oh. Yeah, like, not the flex, but I was like, man, I didn't expect to hit it that fast.
Yeah.
But then I got upset by someone, which is, I think, the first time I ever got upset was at Smash's Blast. I lost to Giga Bowser. And I was so used to being the guy who upset people that when I got upset, I was like, oh, this
Can't let
kind
that
of
happen
sucks.
again. Yeah, you can't let that happen again.
There's two parts. The first part, obviously, I like the game, you know, like mechanically, like at its core, what it is. Fast-paced platform fighter that's combo heavy. And the second part is, you know, because of the nature of the game, it's always a game that you can improve at. And I mean, my goal always, you know, to be the best that I can. If I quit, then I'm, you know, I've left that goal. I've given up on it. And there's always a way that I can improve and try to, you know, be a better player.
The community is definitely a massive part of it for me. I've definitely always liked the social aspect of Rivals because, you know, going to tournaments and just getting in person with people and seeing them face to face, and it's like, hey, we're all in this together, we're all competing together, but we're doing it for fun, is like a kind of experience that you can't get anywhere else, you know? And that's always been the most appealing part of Rivals to me.
It's probably just Crag. I like that character a lot.
Same.
I mean, I play Workshop too, and you can't play Crag in that, but that's kind of more as like a funny thing, and that's kind of a side effect of me already being good at the game, that I'm able to have fun with Workshop characters and exploit them in ways that other people can't.
The community and a competitive drive seem to be the key aspects that draw these players back in. The competitive drive seems like an obvious one. They're pro players. But the community aspect is the interesting part, that I personally resonated with the most. The Rivals community is so open and so willing to help newer players learn the game. The community is so welcoming, in fact, that me and my tiny little channel was able to wrangle interviews with 4 pro players in the scene. And I think lots of people have their own communities that they keep coming back to. I for sure have mine, and these guys have theirs. The community aspect of a game is such an enormous driving force for keeping people interested in it, and the Rivals community is as welcoming as it gets.
When I play games like Rocket League and I get to the level, I'm not interacting with anyone in the community. I'm just going online, playing whoever, and either win or lose. At least this community, I feel like though I have more of a connection. When I beat someone, they'll message me and saying, "Hey, you beat me. Can you teach me how to play better?" Or when I lose to someone, I'll message someone. It's like the more human interaction you get, really, keeps you coming back.
So the comparisons to Melee were bound to come around eventually. We all saw it coming. Rivals is very, very different from Melee, but it's also very clearly inspired by Melee. It takes the strengths of Melee's gameplay, but removes its limitations. This allows Rivals to keep the crazy fast movement and ridiculous combo game without having the enormous barrier to entry for new players that Melee is plagued with. I was curious as to how the players in the top 1% perceived the differences between Rivals and Melee, and how significant they thought they were.
I've been super intimidated by Melee, admittedly. I am a little biased towards it because the only viable zoner in that game is Samus, and they're kind of boring, so I don't really want to play them. I don't know. Melee has been one of those games where it's been around, people know what it is, and I feel you kind of have a feel for if you'd like it or not. And I think for me, it's just not exactly what I'm looking for.
I actually really like mechanical skill and tech skill and stuff like that. So I think Melee being a harder game actually would have drawn me more to it in Rivals. It's actually one of the things I sometimes complain about in Rivals, because sometimes, something will be very hard to do in Rivals, and they'll want to make it easier for newer players, or something will be very easy and they won't try to make it harder at all because they want it to be as accessible as possible, regardless of how broken the thing may be compared to how easy it is to do. Parrying is hardly a defensive option. It's one of those cases, your best defense is your movement, and everything stems from your movement in Rivals, and you have to force them to whiff a move. You can't make them hit your shield with it or whatever. You have one option, and it's get out of the way. You need good movement. That's it.
Even though people say they don't like shields, I think everyone can agree, if you're losing a game because you got parry strong, that's the dumbest way to lose.
I actually think I read, I'm pretty sure I saw basically those exact words in one of your tweets.
Yeah, it's the biggest hype killer ever to lose a game. I mean, you can argue the nuance, oh, he got a good read, but from a visual and spectator standpoint, no, the guy just got stuck frozen place and lost. Because
the thing about L cancelling is that there's no reason to not L cancel in any situation ever in those games, right?
Yeah, you always want to hit the L cancel, and it does get interesting where, say, sometimes you whiff a move that you thought you were going to hit, you miss the L cancel, you get punished harder, so it rewards a good player for getting that L cancel when they realize they're going to whiff in time. But I think that those minute interactions in a game that already has many, many crazy interactions do not benefit the game compared to the barrier of entry that L canceling gives out.
It helped that I was able to transfer over just basic knowledge. While I didn't know what hit falling was, I knew how to DI, I knew what wave dashing was. So the transfer period wasn't that bad. I think the biggest feature I liked about the game was I can hop online and immediately find people. I didn't have to go through the process of going on Aether's ladder or finding a Discord. I can just hop online and just play whoever I want, which was really helpful for me because it made me want to play more, because I'll play and I'll fight another runner, and that runner would do stuff I never thought my character can do. I'm oh, yeah, that's what always bothers me about new players who'll say Rivals is very like beginner unfriendly, and it's like at the core the game is as easy as it can get. Like we have DI assist, so like with 8 angles you can get perfect DI. Like the game is very beginner friendly. I think what people usually messes up is the fact that because I don't win a lot starting out, this game is not beginner friendly. I'm like, you're gonna start at a better point than where I started, which is very good, because that means if you play at the rate I played at, you will catch up to me faster than if I was to play, when I didn't. Like, I wish new players can appreciate that, but
This part right here really interested me, because pretty much all of them said something similar. Tech skill is cool, but sometimes it can be too much, and can overwhelm new players and veterans alike. Too much reliance on tech skill can detract from other areas of the game. Everyone had some sort of similar stance to this. Everyone, except CakeAssault, who actually wants a little bit more tech skill in his game than there currently is. He made a good point though. Sometimes it can be worth having an extremely difficult to execute mechanic in the game, so long as it's not overbearing and rewards the best players for being the best. L cancelling, for example, ends up being too overbearing in my opinion, because it's very precise to execute, but every single character is required to do it, and there's never any reason to not L cancel a move. That sort of thing can be really tough for new players to learn and adapt to. Rivals, however, has something called whiff lag, which is kind of like an automated L cancelling system. Aerials have more end lag when they miss, and less end lag when they hit. The game is still fast, and it still rewards the skilled player, but it isn't boiled down to some arbitrary carpal tunnel button input. It's instead based on whether you landed your move or not. It fills the same role as L cancelling, but it doesn't scare off the newbies. CakeAssault actually gave a good example of what sort of thing he was talking about though.
The only thing that I can think of is Maple's up B cancel with hit falling into tether. Is if you're on a platform and you hit someone with Maple's up B, the grounded, while you're grounded, then you can hit fall it, which means that you cancel the up B entirely. They get hit by it, and then you platform drop because of the hit fall, and then you're like actionable immediately. And then you can tether off of that and combo off of it, and it's so sick. It was one of the sickest things that Maple could do, but it was extremely strong, and so they balanced it by making it so that the first hit of up B, they made it 2 hits now. The first hit you can hit fall and do that with, but it's significantly weaker, and now it has no use because of it. It's this cool thing that you could do, but now it's weaker. Any other move is better. First of all, it's already harder to hit because you have to do a grounded up B. It has a decent amount of startup, whatever. I think if they made it a hard timing or something that's more difficult to do, it could have been, I don't know, better.
The Rivals of Aether devs recently just released a bunch of announcements in their Rivals Direct. They announced a bunch of really cool stuff. Really cool stuff that is currently very irrelevant to my video. But what they did announce was rollback netcode. For those unaware, Rivals, as well as most non-fighting games, uses delay-based netcode. When you press a button, there's a delay for that signal to reach your opponent, and therefore a delay for that button to actually do something on your screen. This delay is present for both players, and the worse your ping is, the bigger that delay will be. Rollback netcode works slightly differently. When I press my button, the move comes out instantly on my screen. That signal then takes a little bit of time to get to my opponent, but instead of showing them the move after a small delay, it instead removes a few frames from the beginning of your animation to make the moves sync up. For example, I have 32 milliseconds of ping. I press my button, the signal takes 32 milliseconds to reach my opponent. My opponent's screen will then remove the first 32 milliseconds of my animation to sync the moves back up. That's about 2 frames at 60 FPS. This means that I can have all of my own actions happen instantly when I press the button, regardless of connection, and the time it takes for my inputs to reach my opponent is masked by removing 2 or 3 frames from the animation of a move on their end. On low ping, this basically feels just as good as playing with your opponent sat next to you in real life, because the tiny number of frames that it removes from each animation is almost completely unnoticeable. On higher pings, it can sometimes look a little bit funky, but it's still way better than just having a 130 millisecond delay for every single one of my own button presses. Long story short, Rivals has announced Rollback netcode, and I wanted to know their opinions on it. Is this going to give Rivals an enormous surge in pro players, or will it be insignificant in the game's future success?
So from my personal standpoint, I'm actually not the most ping sensitive person ever. For me, I'm used to playing 100 ping and playing just fine. But obviously, you know, objectively, Rollback is better. I think Rollback's gonna do exactly what Definitive Edition did, which is like bring in a ton of players for like the first maybe week or two, and then it probably just gonna drop back off to where we started pre-Rollback netcode or Definitive Edition. I mean, for the community, we've been playing on delay for so long. I feel like as though we're kind of numb to it. Like, we'll complain about it, but we'll still enter tournaments. I think Rollback would definitely ease up a lot of anger a lot of people have when they play online tournaments, because like almost no one leaves an online tournament happy. Like like you check Twitter after online, you tell a major just happened because you check Twitter and was like pissed off about like, you know, dang it, I just lost this crag that just spammed this. I think Rollback can help alleviate it. It's definitely not going away.
Yeah, so game dev is really, really complicated, and netcode especially is an absolute monolith.
Yeah.
So optimizing netcode takes a lot of resources, and developers just decided they didn't need to spend those resources until now, when it suddenly become absolutely imperative. Rivals tried Rollback earlier. I'm not sure if you know about that. There's a tweet about it from Dan about how he was canceling it and returning to the old style of netcode. And I actually, on the beta team, got to play the Rollback netcode, and it was legitimately the worst online experience I've ever been a part of. The game did not run with Rollback. It just took too much computational power, so the FPS was in the absolute toilet.
And my internet is very inconsistent and shoddy, and it goes down, and there's a lot of lag spikes, and, you know, packet loss and stuff.
Right.
And so, depending on the day, I might just not even be able to play Rivals, and I won't be able to get practice that day. I found out through Melee that my internet is good enough to make Rollback really good, but just bad enough that delay-based netcode kind of sucks.
Right. So the announcement of Rollback is couldn't be better.
It is perfect. It's amazing. Oh my god. Whenever my internet's got like a little bit of packet loss, or it's like stuttery and delay-based netcode, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. I boot up Melee now, and I get to play Rollback netcode, and it feels good. I think it's definitely the like unnecessary thing for the game to have for the future of Rivals.
I think it's going to be huge. Don't get me wrong, like no amount of like netcode is going to be better than just plain locals, but we don't have that right now, so we need that to say the least. But it's also just super important for anyone who's trying to practice the game. Anyone, because online is by far the best way to practice. You're not gonna have someone like, unless you specifically live with another Rivals player, you're not gonna have someone to practice with 24/7 unless you go online.
I definitely think we're gonna have a huge spike. That's you know, an easy guess.
Yeah.
My worry is always just like, how long will people stay, or people who are staying, will they be willing to compete into a game that's, you know, kind of old?
The competitive scene of a game is a very different beast to the casual game, and these guys are a perfect display of that. It's not just about being better than everybody else, it's about caring enough about your game and about your community to even invest the time to get that good in the first place. And Rivals seems to be a perfect storm for these guys. Huge thanks to all 4 of them for agreeing to do these interviews. I had a ton of fun doing it, and I never expected anyone to get back to me, let alone 4 at once. If you've never played Rivals, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're intimidated by some of the more intense games like Melee that we mentioned. Rivals keeps all of that pace and excitement without giving you carpal tunnel syndrome. Oh, and lastly,
shoutouts to Dan Fernacey LLC for making a game I like a lot.
Thanks for watching.